Third, madamo gid nga salamat sa imo pagkari sa Negros Occidental.
Mayang hapon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Uy, hi. How are you? Okay. Who has the first question?
Good afternoon, President. I'm Crisis Emiliano from the Daily Star. I'd like to, there is a Bacolenia who is being jailed in Thailand right now, serving life sentence. And she's given two options by the DFA, whether to be transferred to the prison jail or avail of royal pardon. And her parents are asking your help, sir, if you could help her get royal pardon from the king.
Let me just look at the details. This is Flory May Talaban. Okay, so, we are scheduling actually a state visit to Thailand, but that hasn't been firmed up yet, no. But we have very good relations with Prime Minister Abasit. Unfortunately, Thailand and Cambodia have problems at the present time, but we will instruct the DFA to render all possible assistance and to prepare the groundwork for us to, number one, first study the case, and number two, we need to see how we can be of assistance and how we can help her. But I understand the DFA presently is facilitating the travel of the parents to Thailand to assist them. Oh, I've been informed the passports for the parents have already been prepared and they're ready. So that I think is the last step for them to be able to travel. But we will be taking this up. This is just one of so many cases, as you know. In China alone, there's over 200 plus cases. And to be honest, one of the first documents I had was for the commutation of penalties for our citizens who run afoul of foreign laws.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, we heard that you met with the bishops of Negros a while ago on the reproductive health bill. What's your reaction to their position against it, and was there some assurance that you gave them either way?
You know, we had a very productive meeting. And the only topic that wasn't discussed was reproductive health or our responsible parenthood. We talked about mining, we talked about what the Department of Education owes the various parochial schools, their formal participation in an anti-graft fight, probably by participating in the Bids and Awards Committee. There were so many topics that were discussed. And also agrarian reform, etc. But the only topic that we didn't discuss was the RH bill or our version, responsible parenthood. But the rest of the dialogue really was very fruitful, improving the lines of communication, that there will be faster action for the plaints, the suggestions, that their flux have been addressing to them so that government can act on them quicker. So that was, the only topic that wasn't discussed.
Hi, hello, sir.
Joyce.
Sir, we understand you're going to Indonesia and Singapore next week. May we know the agenda of your state visits, and are we expecting any investments from these two countries?
I'd rather not announce yet if there are investments. But the primary purpose is basically that is a tradition amongst ASEAN countries. That should actually be the first foreign trip. But in ASEAN, we have a commonality of so many problems. For instance, yung disaster risk mitigation brought about global climate change. Now, excuse me, yung before I went to the ASEAN trip last year and the APEC meet, if ever I had to talk, for instance, with the Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, it would be a very stiff formal affair that would necessitate a very lengthy process just to handle any matter whatsoever. The purpose of these trips, both to see Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, the President S.R. Nathan, and in Indonesia for SBY, is to strengthen further our ties with them so we respond to areas of common concern in the quickest, most efficient manner whatsoever. Especially for Indonesia, one of the concerns that we have, it has to deal with terrorism. So there seems to be migration from their places to ours and from ours to theirs. So greater cooperation between the two countries in the fight against global terrorism is warranted. So at the end of the day, there might be other issues, for instance, like the Spratlys, that can be discussed, especially with Indonesia. We come up with a common ASEAN stand and make it beneficial. Exploration, exploitation, especially exploitation, beneficial to all the disputing parties.
Sir, just a follow-up. would you include in your discussions the issue of oil? Cooperation within the region.
That might be one of the topics also. Pero yung with state visits, there are, we are all bound by tradition. And there are certain formalities that have to be observed. You are formally being introduced to the respective countries. But more than anything, but it's the interpersonal relationship you want to cultivate so that you will be more comfortable in addressing to them certain of your concerns and queries and questions, and they in turn also can um, communicate with us in a very very informal way that expedites the process of resolving various issues.
Sir, the Department of Justice has recommended the filing of charges against LTO ASEC Virginia Torres. Any reaction, and who will replace her?
I'm meeting with the DOJ Secretary this afternoon and the DOTC Secretary. Yung filing of charges, I understand, is on the nature of administrative cases in connection with, actually, I'd better wait to get all of the details. I don't want to make a mistake. But I was briefed, criminal charges seem to be not warranted, but administrative, yes. So there is I think a recommendation for suspension for the completion of the investigation. Let me get the details from both secretaries when I get back to Manila.
But, Sir, Mr. President, does Torres still enjoy your full confidence and trust?
Yeah, she does, no? But at the same time, there are so many things that have come to light with regards to the LTO. And I would like her to act on them faster rather than later. The issue of carnapping and this registration process, I can't go into some details, but we did, meaning another department whose task it is to investigate these crimes, managed to come up with evidence against erring personnel of the said unit. So we will be suspending quite a number. We will be filing charges amongst those who have a very good, the cases have been really prepared and there's very strong evidence against them. Pero as a minimum, those that have already engendered doubts, they seem to be involved in so many instances, for instance, of fraudulent registration, will be removed from office. And at the very least, subject to the civil service rules, will be placed in a position that he cannot do any harm.
Yesterday, the military reported that two Filipino vessels that were on an exploration mission in the Spratlys were allegedly harassed by Chinese patrol. What will be our response to this, and will we bring this matter up with Beijing?
We have already brought the matter up. We have, there was from the DFA, they went to the charge d'affaires of the Chinese embassy. The ambassador is still in Beijing. And we noted that we handed them a protest about the incident. That's number one. The expert on the Spratly Islands, whose name escapes me at the moment, is also headed to Beijing to discuss this particular matter. And there is a Coast Guard vessel that will be in the area to assist this team, Forum Energy contracted survey ship to finish its job. Let me emphasize, Coast Guard ship, unarmed Coast Guard ship.
Yung
to assist them.
nag-explore, sir, na Filipino, it's a Coast Guard ship,
No,
sir.
no. The Coast Guard ship will ensure that our rights are protected by making sure that this survey ship granted authority by our government will be allowed to finish its job.
Sir, dun sa protest, meron ba tayong demand na dapat mag-apologize yung China for what happened?
Joel, if I will answer any more of your questions, we will enforce a situation, we will encourage a situation where they will have to say things publicly, I will have to respond. At the end of the day, we will be driven by respective publics not to talk to each other. And I don't think anybody wants that. So we want to de-escalate the situation.
Sir, what had you discussed with the local officials of Negros Occidental in the luncheon meeting?
Well, they showed to me yung production of yung various aspects of agriculture. We were discussing, for instance, with Governor Marañon. I understand, you export oysters from here to this very famous restaurant in Tagaytay, and you cannot meet the demand. Tapos I'm really fascinated by the variety of seafood you have on Negros itself. No? So during the campaigns, Governor Marañon fed us some of this, and I was really looking forward to eating it. And I did eat a lot of it again this afternoon. So we were discussing yung possibilities of further increasing the oyster farming. How do we help the seafood to become, di ba? There's a bangus brand called Sarangani Bay already. Can we have a Bacolod's brand seafood, be it in freezing it, canning it, etc. There were just too many people also talking. And this is the main activity today, yung health, which is the primary interest also of the provincial government and our interest. And how do we further improve the collaboration so that we empower them to do more, at the same time meeting our objectives. Di ba? Health was the third in my political agenda when I was campaigning. Jobs, education, the third is health. And they're all intertwined. Yung education suffers because of poor health, as you know. So that has to be really addressed. So how do we empower? Was also there's a planned project that they need our assistance in. And the beauty of it is it is collaborative, meaning their resources will be used, the national government's resources will also be used. We are going to spread the mileage for every peso that the national government spends. And the program seems doable, not just for the short term, but for the long term, redounding to an improvement of the health conditions of the people and also the health facilities that service their health needs. Okay? Thank you.